Today we're going to be learning about citation basics, what are citations, why we need to do them, and how we go about doing that. So the first thing is, what actually is a citation? A citation is information about a piece of writing that tells when it was written, who wrote it, and where it was published. And citations go on a works cited page or a bibliography, and they follow a specific order. Usually the author comes first, followed by the title, publisher, and date, which can get a little complicated and a little confusing, but it's important for you to know that they follow an order. Noodle tools is actually something that'll help us do that, and we'll get to that later on in the lesson. So why do we need to make citations? When we're doing research, we need to show where our information came from. We need to show that it's a reputable source, that it's a reliable source, and that we can trust this information. So we need to show where our information came from, who wrote the content, so is that person qualified to talk about the subject? And we finally need to know when it was published. Most times when you're doing research, you want the most recent information. Sometimes it's okay to go back a little bit further, but telling when it was published will make sure that you're getting the information from the time frame that you need. When you show these things through your citations, what's happening is you're supporting the evidence for your research. You're also avoiding plagiarism because you're showing where you got your information. Plagiarism is when we take someone else's work and try to pass it off as our own. If we show a citation that proves where we got the information, we are definitely not plagiarizing. When do we need to make citations? Basically, anytime we're using someone else's words or ideas presented any type of way, we need to cite it. So that means if we're taking information from songs or poems, from magazines and newspapers or books, we need to make a citation for that. If we're using information from movies or videos, or someone else's photos or drawings or charts, or even if we're using websites, we need to cite that information. So how do we make up a citation? And specifically, how do we make a citation for websites? Because that's the information we're going to be using for this project. The first thing we need to find is the title. And sometimes this might be of an article, might also be just a web page. We need to know who the author is. And on websites, sometimes this is one person. A lot of times it might be a group, like maybe the American Medical Association or the National Institute of Health. We need to know the date of publication. So if it was an article on a website, maybe there's a publication date, or maybe we need to know when the information was updated on the website. So you need to look for some kind of date on your website. We need to know the publisher or sponsor of the website, when usually that's a company. Sometimes it might be a publisher like of a magazine or a newspaper. And then last, we need to know the website's name. So we'll be looking at examples of where to find these things on a web page in a different presentation. But for right now, we want to remember the different types of information that go into making our citation.